So you've earned your peer recovery specialist certification. Congratulations, that is a massive achievement. But now comes the next big step, landing your first job. The interview isn't just about proving you have the skills, it's about showing that you can bring hope, support, and professionalism to peers in recovery. Employers want to know you'll represent their program well while staying true to the core values of peer support. These are the real questions employers ask, and I'm going to show you how to answer them with confidence. So let's break down the most common questions you'll face and how to answer them in a way that highlights both your lived experience and your professional training. First up, why do you want to work as a peer recovery specialist? This question really sets the tone for the entire interview. Employers want to know your motivation, your why. A strong approach is to share your personal connection to recovery, but keep it professional. Focus on service, hope, and empowerment. For example, you could say, I want to be a peer recovery specialist because I know firsthand how important it is to have someone who understands the journey. My own recovery taught me resilience, responsibility, and the power of hope. Now, I want to use that experience to give others encouragement as they build their own unique recovery pathway. Next, you'll likely be asked, how do you handle boundaries with peers? This question is crucial. It tests your understanding of ethical responsibility. You need to show that you understand professional boundaries and your specific scope of practice. Be sure to mention when you'd seek supervision. A solid answer sounds like this. I maintain boundaries by being very clear about my role. I'm a peer supporter, not a counselor or a case manager. I only share my lived experience in ways that will support and empower the peer, and I avoid giving advice that falls outside my scope. If a peer shares something that requires clinical or emergency intervention, I follow agency policy to the letter, consult my supervisor, and make sure the peer gets connected to the right help immediately. Another common one is, how would you support a peer going through a crisis? This evaluates your recovery and wellness support skills. The key here is to stay calm, listen first, and then act according to protocol. You're there to connect peers to the appropriate crisis services. For example, if a peer is in crisis, the very first thing I would do is ensure they are safe and listen with empathy to understand the situation. Then I would follow the crisis plan of the agency, contact the appropriate professionals, and stay with the peer to provide support until they are connected with that help. My role is to be a reassuring presence, not to act as a clinician. Let's talk about advocacy. You might hear, what does advocacy mean to you as a peer specialist? This question comes directly from the advocacy domain of your training. A great answer explains advocacy as both self-advocacy and systems advocacy. Show how you empower peers to speak for themselves. You can say, to me, advocacy means standing with peers to help them navigate complex systems like housing, healthcare, or employment. It also means actively reducing stigma by using recovery-oriented person-first language. My role isn't to speak for them, but to walk beside them as they build the confidence and skills to find their own voice and advocate for themselves. Finally, a question that is often overlooked but incredibly important. How do you take care of yourself so you can continue supporting others? Employers ask this because they know self-care is a vital part of ethical practice and burnout prevention. Be prepared to share your own self-care practices. Connect it back to being effective in your role. For instance, I practice self-care by staying connected to my own recovery community, attending regular supervision meetings, and setting healthy work-life boundaries. I know that if I'm not well, I can't support others effectively. So I make intentional time for rest, exercise, and reflection. This keeps me grounded, resilient, and ready to serve. Now, besides practicing your answers, showing up prepared with the right materials makes a powerful first impression. Here's what you should bring with you. First, bring letters of recommendation from supervisors, colleagues, or community leaders who can speak to your professionalism. Second, always bring a copy of your peer recovery specialist certificate, neatly organized in a folder. Third, even if you submitted them online, bring printed copies of your resume and cover letter. And finally, dress for the part. Think professional but approachable. Business casual is usually a safe bet. Slacks, a button-up shirt, a blouse, or a simple dress shows you're ready for the role. These small details send a strong message. I take this seriously. I'm prepared. I'm professional. Remember, interviews aren't just about giving the right answers. They're about showing who you are, what you've learned, and why you're ready for this role. Employers are looking for 3 key things: your passion, driven by your lived experience, your professionalism, shown through your respect for boundaries and ethics, and your preparedness, your readiness to step into a team and support peers. So practice these answers, gather your materials, and walk into that interview with your head held high. As Coach Jade Lewis at EmpowerPath Academy often says, certification gives you knowledge, but confidence comes from preparation. This is EmpowerPath Academy, helping you go beyond certification and into a career where you can empower, encourage, and elevate others. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video.